What if burnout wasn't a problem to fix, but a signal guiding you toward deeper alignment with life? The Practice Podcast invites you to explore how aligning with your energy can transform your connection to yourself, your relationships, and your work. Through real stories, data-driven insights, and life-centered tools, each episode helps you tune into your body's signals and create life-affirming change from the inside out. Welcome to the Practice Podcast. Hello and welcome. I'm Jessica Corbin.
I'm Kristi Brito.
And we're the founders of Source, a health technology company dedicated to solving the human energy crisis. And you are now in the Practice Podcast. Kristi, what is the Practice Podcast?
We were talking about this earlier before we came in. And for me, the Practice Podcast for me is how Jessica and I are peeling back the curtain to really show you how we live, we lead, we work, how our relationships are really all endeavoring towards building without burning out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about how, juggling all the things. How can I do this? I get these questions a lot. How do you do it all? How it's a practice. All of this is a practice. And I don't. I just do certain things on certain days. And so the Practice Podcast is about learning how to build, live, lead, and work while honoring your energy and how all of that's a practice.
Well said.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people in my community have always talked about their yoga as being their practice. But at a certain point along the yogic path, you realize it's all yoga.
Yeah.
It's all practice. It isn't relegated to a single hour when you're on your mat. And so what are all of these efforts towards, creating union in body, mind, and soul? How can we create the sense of union in ourselves and have that ripple out into our relationships, into our creations, into our communities in the world? How can we do it in a way that has energetic integrity? So that's what the Practice Podcast is all about. And we have this, I would say, this singular differentiator, which is that we use biometrics as a tool to separate the signal from the noise. And, where a lot of people are exploring deep and meaningful things in a very subjective way, we find, I would say, some comfort and grounding in really referencing this singular data point known as heart rate variability. And it's providing a window into your nervous system so we can see how life is actually imprinting upon you, how you're actually in your own body battery, how you are resourced for the challenges ahead or not, and therefore how you need to take care of yourself a little bit more intentionally. So that is what the Practice Podcast is all about. We're going to be using our data. We're going to be revealing our data. And you guys, it's really vulnerable. Are you doing a lot of contemplation about how much detail to reveal?
Yes. I wonder. I went through this. I was talking with my husband, Raph.
You're like, I need your permission
because
to talk about our relationship.
No, I do. And I don't want to come on this podcast and just kind of skirt over like, we had a tough moment and there was a drop. I want to talk about it and get into the nitty gritty of the details. Because I know that's what serves too. I was telling you earlier how I posted a string of things on Instagram and I got, this is so helpful. This is so helpful. Please post more things like this. And was great news because this is what the Practice Podcast is.
Yes, and it's edgy because I don't want people in my business.
I know.
But I want people in our business of Source. And I think I got to lead from the front on this. So
forgive us. Please.
And everybody who's involved with us, if we share a story, always doing our best to make sure we're never exposing somebody unnecessarily. However, each episode, so we're going to be diving in. And if you didn't, listen to episode 1, go back
and do it.
Give it a listen, because at the end of each episode, we are committing to actions that we're going to take that are going to hopefully shore us up individually, energetically a little bit more. And so we'll start with just a recap of our commitment to each other from the last episode. We'll go into our actual energy status for the day, what our trends have been, where the edginess has been for us in this last period, and then we will make new commitments to each other and ourselves. So that's how it rolls. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a follow along.
Yeah.
I would say, it's a follow along. So if I don't want to have to recap myself every time, I'm not good at that. So when I'm talking about my life and I'm talking about my data and how it's all working together, I'm probably just going to jump right in. So following along, I think with the episodes is the best way to stay connected to our story. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want me to go first this
Sure.
time?
Yeah. I think I went first last time.
Okay.
You go.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Commitments.
my commitment last time was to do a morning surrender practice. I had an experience prior that exposed something that I consistently am working on that is so very human that I know so many people go through too, but I'm working through the serenity prayer of it all. I'm really trying to understand more deeply what is in my locus of control to change and what I actually would benefit from letting go. And my consciousness gets very confused. I think that I'll speak just for myself instead of going global. I'll keep it personal. Codependency is a thing that I've had to acknowledge.
Your thing.
And like if anybody studies the Enneagram, like I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, which is I'm a helper. And helpers on the Enneagram, we have this thing where we a lot of times find safety by saving. So if I can save you from your pain, then that's somehow creating a sense of worth and safety within myself. But there's a flaw in this, When a helper is really, really, I would say, balanced and healthy, we can help without tying our ability to help with our sense of self-worth and safety. When we are not balanced, it goes excessive. And it can go so excessive that you actually just opt out of, connection altogether, which will then leave you feeling very, very empty and very, very alone. I tried that and it didn't work. So I watch myself. And when crisis happens, I will go excessive real quick in trying to put my superhero cape on and save. And we had an instance when we actually fostered a dog in need, and it brought up a lot about my history. And so I gave myself a morning surrender practice, which frankly, I've never given myself. All these years, I've never given myself this. And so when I was thinking up a morning surrender practice, I just first started with some general quotes provided by ChatGPT, and they were okay. But then I was listening to actually a thought leader in I would say, meditation space. Her name is Tara Brach. If you've never heard of Tara Brach, get yourself some Tara Brach in your life, because this woman is a portal into peace and calm
and forgiveness
and right knowledge and forgiveness and all the things. So I'm listening to a Tara Brach Dharma talk, and she at the end recounts a Tibetan prayer, and I'm going to see if I can recount it. It said,
you can also read it.
Right.
Yeah. We can also pull it up.
Right.
Yeah. Let's pull it up.
Okay.
Let's pull it up.
Surrender mantra.
Here we go. Glasses
Put
on. She's getting serious.
All right. And she credits it's a Tibetan prayer. So let go of what is past. Let go of what may come. Let go of what is happening now. Don't try to figure anything out. Don't try to make anything happen. Relax right now and rest. So you kind of cite that meditation, and then I just sit and I'll repeat it just as a basic mantra meditation. And as I do, I kind of also am doing a body scan from top to bottom. So I'm releasing my physical structure. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm also a certified yoga teacher. So I have a lot of knowledge around just meditation and meditation practices. So I'm kind of filtering through. And what's interesting is that you'll just have images kind of reveal themselves. They could be memories, they could be impressions, and it was so rich. The TLDR of it all is that, and this is not going to probably sound like an epiphany, but in the moment it feels like an epiphany.
It is to you. Epiphanies are relative. Epiphanies are relative. To you, it is.
They are. But it was like that next layer of really understanding that the only way that I am going to be able to surrender is in those moments of crisis where there's this really familiar flavor that happens internally. It isn't associated with what's happening in that moment, really. It's associated with, I would say, ground zero of a trauma that happened a long time ago. When I can kind of close my eyes, presence myself, and go to the one inside that needed me back then, if I can find my way back to myself at that ground zero spot, that's the juice, man. And so it just kept like, there was this, and it wasn't just the foster dog who I love so much. It's so crazy how in 18 hours my heart can fuse so intensely to something. It scares me sometimes that I do that. I know there's a superpower in it, but fuck, it's intense. But the fact of the matter is that that flavor that I get when I'm looking at that dog, it's a call from me from many years ago. And so to take the time to presence myself, to go back to myself and reconnect with me, that is how you, as my dear friend Alyssa Nobriga has also coined, I don't think she coined it. She says it all the time. This is how we insource our safety. So instead of outsourcing my safety, saying if I save X, Y, and Z, and those things are never ending, I put myself on the hook to outsource my safety by saving all these things, and then I can have peace. No, you go to the one, you go to the tender part, you reconnect there, you insource your safety, you reparent that part that needed you way back when. And that's always the direct route. That's always the direct route.
That's so helpful. Oh my gosh. Because that's true for so many different things. It's not only in this, serenity prayer for you. It's just about going to that part reveals so many unmet needs in those moments, so many open gaps that may highlight all of the fears that you're currently working with. I have a question on that. What specific, I know, because I feel like that's so helpful to hear. And I want another example to highlight a process that maybe they can do at home if they're feeling the same thing, something really simple, because we talk all the time. I'm like, okay, how do I do this for myself? How do I go home for myself? So if you're out there and you're like, I'm struggling with saving everyone and I feel completely depleted, what's something that maybe they can do? Because Jessica didn't tell you either, but she's also a transformational coach by trade too, and used to have her own private practice in that, and we've coached thousands of people at this point. What's something that they can do at home to maybe sharpen this tool a little bit more?
I mean, all I would offer for this would be the same kind of process, which is find a mantra that really resonates with you. Use your body again as that kind of litmus test or tuning fork for the words that really reverberate through your system. Little tweaks in mantras could make all the difference. So find that mantra for yourself. And then when you go in and you set that intentional time, you can set that intentional time with kind of the purpose of, revealing what's in your highest good and the highest good of all involved. And then you go in and then make yourself available for revelation. I think there's a a big thing that you have to actually let go of controlling the experience at all. And you got to get comfortable for holding space for what emerges and what wants to be revealed and shown moment by moment. It's a big part of energetic literacy is this practice. So you find the mantra that really makes your system hum. You set the intention, you go in, and I would say do some journaling after you go through that process to really crystallize it. Because a lot of times these misunderstandings are happening in the realm of the unconscious. And this brings up the next layer of this for me, which is why were we not taught how to surrender? Like, why, what? Like, how is this not something that we are taught?
Surrendering's not smart.
Then I get on my pulpit. So then I'm going to go from my tender bits to my pulpit.
This is my favorite part.
And then I go, okay, we haven't talked yet to you guys about regenerative business.
Right.
But that's what we are creating is a regenerative business. And what's interesting is that in regenerative business, surrender is seen as natural, innate, and intelligent in regenerative business. There is a shift afoot. We are a part of it. If you're watching this, you're probably a part of it, which is we have to, as one of my favoritist organizations, Pachamama Alliance, has coined in the past, is that we are we are hospicing out the old and we're midwifing in the new. And conventional, traditional business is all about control. So when I'm like, why is it that we were never taught? It's because the dominant system for many, many years is focused on command and control.
Yes.
And if you can't command and control, that you're not
successful, valuable. You're a bad leader.
So everything from top down is actually fashioned to work like a machine, where it's hierarchical in nature, and it is about power over, and it's command and control.
Yeah.
And it's highly extractive. So my surrender experiment, leads me into also wanting to share. And I have one more thing to read because it's very important for anyone interested. So the difference is, and we can even flash this up on the screen, but the approach to surrender from a traditional business perspective is traditional business avoids it and views it as failure. Surrender as failure. Regenerative business embraces it as necessary for renewal. Okay? So we actually can't renew ourselves, become regenerative without going through grief process as a form of renewal over and over and over again. We have to submit ourselves to that. And I'm just going to speak on the female front real quick. As women, we have to go through this cycle every month. But we have probably been interpreting this cycle as just a nuisance, where it actually has fundamental, deep-rooted necessities for, renewal for us all. So anyway, tangent. The growth model in a traditional business is linear, extractive, always scaling up. The growth model for regenerative is cyclical. Regenerative allows for rest and renewal. Response to uncertainty in a traditional business model is that it tightens control and increases pressure from a regenerative perspective. It trusts the process and adapts dynamically. And then if we want to just look at one more, the view on energy and resources is that traditional business depletes and replaces where regenerative business nurtures and regenerates. So when I sit in my surrender practice and I'm like, I'm not the only one going through this, but why is it not more a part of our way of being? One more tangent. I went to Bali when my life was falling apart during my Saturn return. Anybody have that happen to them? Okay. So I do the eat, pray, love thing, and I buy a one-way ticket and I go to Bali. I don't know why I'm going to Bali. Well, maybe it was because I dated that one surfer who went to Bali all the time. Maybe it was
There's a big why.
Because he always came back feeling so shiny and fresh. Anyway, I put myself on a one-way ticket to Bali. And in Bali, this culture was so holistic in the way that they dealt with things like surrender and death. And the way I got to observe it was life-changing. And they are living in a very regenerative way over in Bali, where I was at. You could just feel that they were way more in tune with the logic of life and natural rhythms, and that they hadn't bought into the whole mechanistic paradigm. And there was something, that's what called my soul there, guaranteed. So all that to say, my little morning surrender practice felt very, very fruitful, although difficult to look at some things, and it will be a lifelong practice. It also made me feel more emboldened in the work that we're doing, because it isn't just about, surrender isn't just a personal process. It's actually something that we have to embed into business structures. Thank you.
And
good night.
We're done. I think it's so, for me, it's why I love working at this company, because I tend to view things from my personal point of view. Like, how does that relate to me? Forget everyone else. How does that relate to me? A lot of reasons is I'm still on the path of learning about regenerative business. I know our little but big and mighty part of energetic literacy and how we plug into this bigger narrative. But growing up the way that I did and learning that everything you just said in a prior season of my life, I would have thought, well, there's no way we can make money like that. There's no way business can actually get done like that. That sounds great, but that's not real life. Real life is waking up and pounding the pavement. That feels soft. Can businesses survive? Can my life survive? I've got a lot to do. I'm a mom, I'm a founder, I'm this, I'm that. If I surrender, that means nothing gets done. So in a previous lens of mine, I would have heard that and went, that's impossible to do. And if we do that, then nothing works. It doesn't work that way. Go live in Bali then. Go ahead. Because over there.
But that's how so many people still look at us.
I know.
Still look at, screw you guys.
Yeah.
They still look, still look at us like, that's a pie in the sky thing. No, it ain't, man.
No.
Because how the logic of life will transcend your idea about how it all should work, by the way.
Yeah.
And we're just literally trying to build in alignment with what is.
And guess what? The reason why we know that everything I just said isn't sound, smart, or proven is because the systems are breaking all around us. Yeah. We work with some very large clients in our enterprise consultancy arm of Source. We have talked to hundreds of CHROs, C-suites, leaders. No matter how many Band-Aids they are putting inside of their orgs, people are burnt out, exhausted, productivity is decreasing, sales are decreasing, things are broken, they can't find the answers, they're looking for solutions. And so all of these things they're trying to layer on top to hopefully alleviate all of this stress and burnout that exists in these organizations, let alone in people's lives. There's your answer. It might sound like on the face sometimes, even from my previous lens of like, well, you can't make money like that. That's fun, but you can't make money like that. First of all, maybe that's true. Maybe our company isn't going to be $1 trillion company. Maybe we don't want it to be. Do we care? Should we all start to think about how to redefine value in our lives and our work? How come we're tethered to that? Why are we tethered to that needing to be the goal, that this never kind of ending trajectory in the sky to make everything so efficient and go IPO? Is that a good idea? For what? For business, for life?
For more money.
For more money. So we can A, look at that, and then B, I would challenge the more money part though.
Well, because the more money, I made more money.
Yeah.
I wasn't any happier.
I would just challenge that.
That was actually one of the most heartbreaking things, is when I was making the most.
Same.
I was the most unhappy.
Same.
Money isn't where it's at.
No.
Value is where it's at.
Yeah. And that's not to say also that you can't make money and feel abundant in your life living and building in this way. We do. We're here in a studio that we paid for that our company pays for. And so to me, it's just instead of all of this share is so helpful with surrender and your own serenity, practice. Instead of just saying that's bullshit, please try it on. Because I used to say it's bullshit and write it off, and I didn't even try it on. And you know what? I don't really like when I'm like, with my kids, I'm like, you got to try try this. And they're like, I don't like it. Like, but you haven't tried it. They're like, but I don't like it. Like, yeah, but you're going to try it. And no, I just don't like it. The same thing here. That's dumb, right? That's dumb. You haven't tried it. So try honoring your boundaries. Try thinking and feeling that when you can surrender a little bit, not put up so much of a front or not overreach and save everyone, try and see how it feels in your body. See how it translates to your teams. See. And if you're afraid to do that because of X, Y, Z, it's going to make me look like this. I get that. Do something small. Look at the results, rinse and repeat. This is why I think the Practice podcast exists. It's uncomfortable to feel like surrendering is not going to show my weakness to every single person that I interact with. But guess what? When I tried it on and I go to the park with my mom friends and I say I don't feel good today, and they go, oh, cool. They're not like, you piece of shit. Like what I'm hearing in my head, you are so incapable of everything. Do you think that they would even say that? No. So I think it's our right and our duty, especially if you have the privilege to watch something like this, to practice in this way.
And just one more note is that when we are seeing the suffering in the world, there is this distinction of just like letting the information in, but not holding on to it. And as we let that information in, allow it to help you discover, I would say, your creative potential to alleviate that suffering a little bit more. It doesn't mean that you have to, again, leave your life to help a certain, situation, but how can you start to think about your life more globally? So the reduction of human suffering and all beings is a part of your plan. It's getting into how you are architecting your life. And that's all that you have to do in your life, is really, I would say, arrive as a masterful creator, masterful, powerful creator that you are.
And this is exactly why it takes practice. And I could talk about this piece all day because it's the long game. It's the long game that we're all playing here, little by little. And so I don't want you to collapse on yourself because you can't do it all. This is why I like HRV so much, to bring it back to kind of our energy status and where we can go from here. I wake up, I put my finger on my camera lens, I breathe for 1 minute, I get my energy status, and the inquiry starts there. Then, practicing that, you're able to start to view your relationships, the world, people around you, and it takes, as Jess said, kind of that mastery. But that's what we're here for at Source, to help you along the journey.
So that was my action.
Well, it's a good thing mine is short. Commitment. Mine is very short. And you made good on it.
I did. And I'll just round it out with, today I have Maintain Day. And my trend since the last time we connected has just been like maintain. And it's been really, that's interesting because it's been like volatile in many ways, and yet my system is just kind of like holding real steady.
That's a good thing.
But here's also something, and we should flash this up.
Okay.
Just fun fact. Personality does have a lot of effect on HRV. Like if you look at my HRV trends and Kristi's HRV trends, like this and sometimes I'm so jealous because like her data has so much story in it. There's so many stories to tell, where mine just feels like
that's how we are, though. That's how we are.
Steady Eddie. So maintain trend and the edginess. I would say, just the edginess this week, just the surrender stuff, just that is where the edge is. And therefore my action is actually just going to be to continue. I'm going for another round with this surrender practice. And that's all I got.
Sweet. Ding. Mine was to walk more.
That was your commitment. Yeah.
My commitment was to continue to pick back up my morning walks. I have done so. It always helps. So for me, my edges are always going to be, well, with regards to work, I choose it over everything because I love it so much. And what I also want people to understand is that burnout can come from that too. You know, I love what we do so much. I feel so enriched by what we do. I'm really passionate about building. I love being a creator. I love hearing my own ideas. So, you know, the morning walk for me, it forces me to not get into the goo of my day so fast, to give my brain more space, to give my body more space. I'm not in a season of running and working out hard still. I don't know when that's going to end, but it's been about since I've having kids, HIIT workouts are just not working for me right now. It's just they never did.
Let's be honest. You know, the three HIIT workouts you did in 2018.
I've been a walker. I've been a granny walker my whole life. This is true. I've forced some workouts in the past. I'm not a huge fitness person. Wow, that's a moment. But the walks, they are, and I did one without Raf. My husband is Raf. That almost never happens because I need a lot of accountability with this part.
Okay.
Like, you're not going on a walk? He's like, no, I'm going to yoga. Oh. And then I found myself like, well, then I'll just go to work. Yeah. I'll just go open my laptop. No. So, I'll go on a walk. He's like, alone? I was like, yeah, good, go.
Yeah.
It wasn't as long.
Okay.
But I did it.
Cool.
It was half.
Cool.
It was tremendously less.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. But I noted that.
Yeah.
And I am going to continue on that commitment, but for a different reason. So I have a maintain day today. But the last 2 days, I had 2 very high push days. And I'm on my cycle now. But I knew that because of just learning my body over time. Using HRV will really help you do this. But I used my push day yesterday. I really did because I already knew I'm going to be traveling later this week. We have a giant launch today, beta of the practice. Membership is going to be so awesome. For good business hygiene, I could have opted out yesterday too. No. So, you know, source is also us. We're not also, it's yes in the surrender, but I wanted to highlight today that I needed to dig in and give myself some structure yesterday. I needed to hit deadlines. I needed to wrap my stuff up. Mm-hmm. I had the capacity to do so. Mm-hmm. My HRV was, you know, at a very high push. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to continue doing things. And, you know, sometimes that's tough. Mm-hmm. That's just tough. I have a lot going on in my life. I needed to dig in. And I did. And I leaned in and I completed my tasks. And I even went to my daughter's softball game and was there and, you know, fully burned a little midnight oil, wrapped up some loose ends. And I felt so good about that because today I knew it. And lo and behold, dropped to a maintain, almost a recover. And I feel so much safer being able to operate in this way at a high level for our startup, for our business, for my family, being able to be safe enough today to go, okay, after the pod recording today, I'm going to need to go. And I'm going to need to go home and slow down a bit so that I can mitigate this from happening. And
What's this?
I can mitigate any further fallout.
Okay.
So today I'm about at 40% capacity, I would say. And I'm not going to volunteer at the kids' school. My daughter's home sick, so no point. Anyway, if I'm a volunteer, she's going to see me volunteer. I am not the random volunteer. I would love to be. It's just that is not my bag. I'm not, it takes a lot for me to get there, and she's going to witness it, and that's what's going to happen. So I'm not volunteering at the kids' school today because Mia isn't there to see it. So I pushed that. Also, that's a lot on my system to be around that many kids.
Yes.
So I will not be doing that. And I also alerted the team that I was going to be slower to respond today after about noon, 1 o'clock. I'm going to get to bed early, and I know I have to travel tomorrow too. So I'm going to work slower and quieter on my own because we have the launch. And I'm also not going to forget our deadlines. I'm not in so, deep of a recover that I need to take the day off. And this is something that I wanted to highlight alongside of the push. I don't need to take the day off today. So there's this line that I don't know if it's offensive that I want to bring up of using these things as an excuse to just say, oh, well, I don't, and then victimizing everything. I don't like that either. I like to get stuff done. I like to lean in. And so for me, if I'm getting really honest, I do have some capacity today. So I'm going to finish what I need to do, but then I'm going to draw a boundary so that I don't override the amount that I have and pay for it tomorrow, because taking a day off tomorrow would really suck for life, for business, for all of it. So that's how I'm working with what's going on today. And it's smarter and more efficient to do so.
Yeah, when you have the resources, you don't want to waste that opportunity. So we have often said you have an energetic stock market inside of your body. And there are certain days to save, certain days to invest, know what to do when we can get this energetic portfolio to rise. So all of this science and art is about how to time your efforts with a lot of perception and a lot of precision.
Yep.
And the more you can create, a connection and intimacy with your instrument, known as your body-mind vehicle, the more abundant you will be energetically, and it's one thing to know these principles, and then it's a whole nother thing though to live from these principles, because there are risks associated with having kind of this adaptive way of living and working.
So true. I'll talk about a tangible example really quick. Before I practiced in this way, I would have been so down on myself for canceling the school event. I would have thought about it for hours. I would have been thinking that the teacher was going to get upset, and then I'm not looking good. And then I would assume that my friends are like, well, she never and then she's going to cancel now. And I would feel like a flake. Just that one thing would have caused me so much up here that isn't even true or necessary.
Yep.
And that's just one thing. What if I didn't have the capacity to go to her softball game, maybe one, or her practice? I would have beat myself up over one thing versus living in this way. It's hard at first, again, hitting the email saying, I can't come in to volunteer today. Mia is sick. The response, totally fine. Let's pick another day. But what if the response came, oh, that's such a bummer. It is, but there wasn't anything I could do about that today. And living with that and sitting with that, that's why she's talking about it being a practice. It causes a little bit of upset at first, but then you teach others how you are and how to treat you and model.
Yeah. You model for others how they can be with themselves. So instead of it being this thing that I'm doing to you, you can hold it as I'm just going to kind of, again, lead from the front a little bit about what energetic integrity looks like and how we're all safe to do so.
Yes. And I hear it all the time when I'm, chatting with my girls, like, how do you just say no? I say, I don't say no all the time, because that I think, isn't very good either. Just me opting
but again,
out.
On push days, it's about a lot of times saying yes. So it's just, you have to, if you live in this way, it is about leaning in on those push days, and it is about giving yourself,
what you need.
More support on those recover days.
Totally.
And you do that. And we're going to course correct as a culture. We're going to course correct a lot. And yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, so what's your action?
Oh.
Or do you want to talk about what did you talk about, like, you did talk about the edginess.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I definitely did.
Yeah.
I have, this whole thing is a little bit of an edge. And for me, the action, it was going to be to continue the morning walks, because what I'm finding during those is more space to think about my energy for the day, rather than going right into it and doing my very favorite thing, which is justifying everything. So it leaves less room for me to justify, because I'm jumping right into it and making assumptions and conclusions about my day really quickly. When I walk, it gives me more space to get honest about the day and move through any fears that I might have by telling you something or telling the team something. Like, I have to tell Jess I'm doing this again, or this is happening again. I can have a bit more dialogue with myself to overcome some of those perceived hurdles, because they're just perceived. So I think mine is to continue the morning walks, even when I'm traveling.
So we're both doing it.
Yeah.
Just
I
a
wish
little
there was
bit
more
longer.
drama,
Yeah,
but
a little
it's
bit
true.
longer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any final thoughts?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Questions from the crew?
Oh my, now we're
I always ask that because I just wonder, what are they thinking?
I love how you
I know it. I'm gonna
every
involve the
time. I
crew.
think it's a thing now.
It might be a thing, but I think because if we have two people in here hearing,
Sure.
what have we missed? What's confusing? Is there anything we can clear up?
She's like, I was actually napping, so I don't have anything now, but now that I know it's going to be a thing.
Okay. I just put him right on the spot.
Well,
Great.
you guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. We do hope that these episodes are enriching in some way. And if you have any questions, I really do think you can also just email us directly. Should it be info@source.io?
Yep, totally.
And just email any questions that you also want us to answer for the pod. We would love to do that for you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye.